Ross Chastain used the wall all the way around this racetrack. Logano has been the class of the field.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
Yeah, I need to change my underwear.
With practice and qualifying in the books from Phoenix, Brian and I are in to set you up for this week's race as the boys take on the Shriners Children's
500.
I'm pretty convinced the apostrophe is incorrectly placed in that, but I'm not going to worry about it. And of all the things they could name the race, this seems pretty on brand. Usually it's like Auto Trader, EchoPark, Automotive Grand Prix, 24/7, 365. It's just aggressive. But as you can see, Brian's background is different as he is coming to you live from Phoenix, Arizona. He was at the track for practice, for qualifying, for Xfinity. I am still at home this week, but both of us will be in Vegas next week. As a friendly reminder, we have a giveaway going. Speaking of Las Vegas, we're giving away 2 tickets to the truck race. We've advertised it on socials. But if you aren't on Twitter or Instagram or following us there, if you're on those and you're not following us, please fix that as soon as you can. But we're giving away 2 tickets to the truck race on Friday night if you can be in Vegas. So all of the details are on our socials as well as on the betting show. You have to go back and like that video. You have to
comment on the video with the hashtag LVTrucks.
Yeah, and let us know who you think is going to win in Phoenix, as well as make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We're gonna run a thing on Monday to pick a winner. We'll record a quick little video, put that on the YouTube. We'll contact you. That way people have enough time to kind of get things organized if they need to, go into town for the week or whatever the case may be. We'll get you that. We'll get you those tickets. Brian will get them sent over. And you go have a great time at the truck race. Send us some pictures. Let us know how much fun you had, and all that good stuff. But yeah, so like I said, all the info is on socials if you want to go check it out. But go like the video, go subscribe, go leave a comment. Use hashtag LVTrucks if you want to be entered. If you want to just comment away, that's cool too. If you can't go, yeah. So Brian Twining, live from Phoenix. Let's talk some DraftKings, and I'll pull it up here. And as we go through it, let me know what stood out, what didn't stand out. And honestly, Brian, we were dabbling a little bit, but do you feel more informed, less informed, or about the same amount of it informed after practice and qualifying?
Well, as I texted you before leaving the track, I feel like I left practice and qualifying with more questions than I had going into it. Clearly, the soft tires, they were fast, but from what I saw monitoring the lap times and from what the drivers even said in post-practice interviews quickly, the fall off numbers that we saw from them were nowhere near as dramatic as we thought we were going to see. I mean, when you look at Michael McDowell, who went out on softs, he ran, I believe it was 42 laps to begin the practice session on those option tires, and his lap times leading up to him ending that run at lap 42 were on par with guys that were on prime. So, I mean, at what point are those supposed to hit the ledge and fall off to where there's actually an advantage to the prime guys for going long? And then you had a group of guys who they say they put on their option tires later in the session and they didn't fire off as fast, but their fall off numbers were equally, if not better, than what McDowell had, to the point of where, to a man, every driver that we heard that was asked about the tires, they said they want to have the option tire as the only tire for this race and all short tracks this season, because they feel like you can run on it and it should promote passing, I guess, just based on guys that are able to preserve the tire a little bit better. But tomorrow when we go into the race, when everybody's going to be essentially on the same tire cycle, outside of maybe back markers trying to make up track position or people going for stage points as opposed to, trying to save a set to the end for late race caution, how much difference are they going to make if there's really no amount of fall off? I don't even really know where the hell to begin because we don't really have a good handle on who was good and who wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard when there's like people on different sets of tires and they're going in different. And obviously, you mentioned McDowell was able to run long, so I wonder if people get aggressive and get on him early and just go, "We're going to be fine. We're going to run him out. We'll just keep going and 50, 60, 70 laps and see what happens."
Well, okay,
Uh,
so I'm glad you said that, and I know this is a long opener to the show, but that was something that I was thinking about, and I actually asked the Goodyear tire rep that was in the media center. What are the chances that we actually see a couple of guys who are starting a little bit further back in the field actually start on these soft tires? Each team gets 2 sets, mind you. So obviously they want to save one to the end. But if you're a back marker or you're a guy who, say, qualified poorly, looking at you, Chase Briscoe, and you want to
Tyrone
make up
Gibbs.
Tyrone Gibbs fits this mold too, and you want to make up track position early, the fall off or lack thereof that we saw on this tire, why not throw them on for the entire first stage? Run that entire first stage on your first set of softs, make up the track position, and then just manage your spot the rest of the stage 2 and early on in stage 3. And I think it's totally feasible that we see this happen and that nobody saw coming.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see what we actually get from race day. And obviously, there's people smarter than us that have a better understanding of kind of expectations. But from what we gather, from what we saw, from what Brian saw at the track, there's going to be some interesting strategies. So pay attention, and it might be a good. Don't really bet a lot before the race. Just jump in live when we get some feelings and kind of understanding about what these tires may or may not provide. Let's run through the salaries, and we can obviously talk about what we saw, what we liked, what we didn't like, all that good stuff. So Chris Bell starting 11th, Ryan Blaney starting 12th, Kyle Larson 17th, Logano and Byron on the front row round out the 10K. Hendrick showed up. Hendrick showed out. Byron was fast. We'll review the betting card in a little bit, but happy to have him as my stage 1 winner. Going into sitting on the pole. Logano was pretty good. He was fast. And no, not fast.
I'm
You're
just
not buying.
I'm just irritated that it seems like every race I go to, Logano just somehow shows up, whether it's in Vegas or in Phoenix where he wins a friggin' championship. Like,
Yeah.
Joey just has this knack for it. He probably has no. I mean, he obviously has no clue about this, but him being my arch nemesis in the betting space tends to work out in his favor when I show up. Apparently.
So he's going to win this week. He's going to win Vegas, and he's going to win Miami. I cannot wait. I'm going to be firing on those numbers as soon as they drop.
Gosh. I sure hope not.
But yeah, he looked good. He looked good. So interesting to see how that kind of came away. I guess for you, is it Byron if you're picking between those two guys, and then beyond them two, like Larson, Blaney, Bell, expensive but incredibly compelling given where they're starting.
Yeah, I guess I would lean a little bit towards Byron just because he's shown in the spring recently to perform really well here. And, he's qualified on the pole before. He's been fast. He's Hendrick. But, honestly, I think the best guy in this group is going to be Kyle Larson because from what I saw in practice, he was best on the option tire. And the fact that he had to go out later on the prime when the track had warmed up and all that stuff, I don't take too much out of that practice spot. And honestly, had he not biffed turn 3 and clipped the apron, I think he might be sitting on the pole. And we'd be having a completely different conversation about him right now as being the dominator. And so, I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility that you could play both Byron and Larson, build your lineup from that spot, and expect both of those guys to be up front rather quickly and towards the end of the race.
Yeah, the other thing I will say is over on Win the Race, if you want to look for some salary, or it's not salary, ownership percentage leverage, Logano is definitely the click. Obviously, he's a couple $100 more, starting one spot back. He's is projected for about half the ownership at this point right now. So if you're like, I love my lineup, but man, it feels chalky, and you're entering it in a tournament, making a switch from Byron to Logano might be the way to get kind of get off of some of that salary.
And I think you could do the same thing with Logano. You just put him with Ryan Blaney because all expectations are the Penske guys, especially Blaney, who is the most consistent guy here. He's going to work his way from 12th up to the front.
Yeah, I think he'll do that quickly, and I think by the end of stage one, he'll be within the first couple spots.
Yeah.
What about Christopher Bell? We just kind of glanced over him. Obviously, a big favorite coming into the week. Still among the top options on the betting board.
Yeah.
We know how good he can be, and we know how strong he is on the long run. We know what JGR does here. He's a guy that's incredibly compelling. I know he's expensive, but maybe that gets a little bit of an ownership discount. And I mean, not extremely, unowned, but I think he's really, really compelling, and obviously in terms of projections could be the number one guy.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing last week. Like, I missed the boat on this. I mean, obviously I grabbed him live at a big number, but you can't count Bell out here at Phoenix when the last couple of years he's been probably the best car in every single race. That being said, like, his practice session when he was on the prime tires was not great comparatively to the other guys that were on similar sets. And then when he put on the softs, he was just kind of like there. He didn't pop in very many metrics during practice. And then he goes out and he does what he normally does here and qualifies outside the top 10, which has kind of become the norm for him. And something he admitted, like, he struggles in qualifying for some reason here in Phoenix, but that hasn't stopped him before. So I don't expect him to be finishing outside the top 10 by any means, but also at the same time, there's so many other good guys. And I would expect Bell to be amongst maybe even possibly the most rostered driver. So I'm naturally a contrarian. That's just
I'm watching our friends offshore move Kyle Larson. He's now down to 8-1. So that'll be an interesting discussion to talk about when we talk outrights. Hamlin, Elliott, Reddick, Briscoe. An interesting group of 4 names. Apparently Briscoe is going to be popular and people are still in on him. He looked like doo-doo. He's starting in the back. I know he's good on shorter flatter. This is a place where we normally target him, but I don't know, man.
Anytime you got to start with the squirrels, you better put your damn pads on because it might get bumpy. And Briscoe, I know they got the penalty rescinded, but you can't show up 3 consecutive races after NASCAR docks you as many points as they did, saying that you had an illegal part on your car, and then people not still question whether or not that was intentional when the speed on Saturday has not been there 3 straight races. Like, he closed at one of the favorites for the pole. I have him when we go look at the betting card. I liked him to win stage 1. The price was priced wrong, according to him being amongst the favorites to win the pole. There was a lot of talk about him getting his first win with JGR here. And then he goes out and he looks like shit in practice. And then he throws together an absolutely horrendous lap in qualifying. And we expect him to be able to move through the field. Like, if this car doesn't have speed and he's back there with the squirrels, he may not even finish the race, let alone get placement points for us. He's somebody that I'm avoiding like the plague this week because I don't know what we're going to see.
Yeah, and we'll obviously dive into the next range, but with Ross Chastain sitting right there at 8,800, that's an easy pivot for me. Obviously, in terms of roster percentage, they'll be basically the same, so you're not really saving anything by going down there, but I just feel so much better about the watermelon, man, even if I'm giving up those 6 spots. What about Elliott and Reddick? I mean, I guess Hamlin too. They're all kind of in that back end of the top 10. All kind of interesting. We talk about Denny all the time at Phoenix and winning the championship race there and what can he actually do. But starting 10th, 9,700, kind of interesting. Elliott starting 6th. We talked about the HMS factor. If you want to skip Byron and go down to Elliott, do the Elliott Larson thing and then figure it out from there. And then our guy, Tyler Reddick, we love him. We talk him up every single week. But starting in the top 10, I think that's kind of what he's going to be most of the day. I don't expect him to jump to the front and dominate the race. I think he's going to be kind of a 7 to 12th place car and be solid because he's a really good driver. I just in terms of DraftKings, I'm not sure I'm in.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that goes to the fact that we saw Reddick be really good on the first set of prime tires because he was amongst the group that went out on the regular tire to begin practice, and he was the best car. But then once qualifying came, we didn't see that kind of weekly top end speed that we had gotten accustomed to out of the 2311. So that worries me a bit in terms of the short run. And Again, we talked about this before jumping on here. He's somebody that we try to get good CLV on constantly, but he's also somebody that at Phoenix, he's been good, but he hasn't been race winning good. And so where he's starting, having to compete with guys like Larson, who's starting way further back, or even in this range, for instance, like Denny Hamlin, who if we wind up getting a really long green flag run, say midway through the race where guys threw on their option tires, if there was one guy in the field that I could choose to go on an extended run on a tire that wears faster, it would be Denny Hamlin, because he would, at the end of that thing, he would be smoking the field. And, I could see him using that to his advantage and winding up near the front on a late race restart because of that, so
Yeah.
I almost think that Hamlin, because of the history here, a lot of people may not want to roster him as much as what we've seen at regular short tracks. He could be somebody that surprises.
Yeah. No, I think that's interesting. He's always, I don't know, he's always interesting because he's more popular. He's obviously got the podcasts and other stuff that kind of keeps him in the front of people's minds. We know how good he can be week to week, but then also when we go to Phoenix, his numbers are always too short. So I'm curious to see what his ownership comes in at. But yeah, he's somebody that I think could be better, but I don't know. I'd much rather use him than Reddick, but
I will add in this range here. This is something that I probably haven't said in maybe 2 years, maybe even ever. But Chase Elliott is somebody that I got my eye on tomorrow.
Okay. I like what you're throwing out there. We'll see if we can't make it come to fruition. Let's talk the 8Ks. Chastain, already mentioned. I'm a big Chastain stan this week. I'm trying to figure out how to get exposure to him. I will be playing him on DraftKings, me and probably a third of the field, depending
I was
on
just gonna say a million other people.
Yeah, what contest we're in, but I think he's a must in cash. I think he's a easy click in tournaments, and I think you find leverage elsewhere. Kyle Busch, Christopher Busch are kind of starting in the mid-teens. Tyrone Gibbs starting 34th. Like I texted you, I look like he was driving a tractor, not a race car today. But starting 34th, 8,200, he's somebody that I could easily click on. And Brad K, starting 20th. But if we're looking for Brian's sporty driver of the week, it might be Mr. Keselowski.
I'm not going to go with Keselowski here. Brad was just kind of Brad. And honestly, I don't think you can take too much away from any practice that RFK participates in, because they just kind of go through the motions. the one thing that I did notice is the fact that Chris Buescher, this is his best qualifying effort here in Phoenix in some time. And he's coming off of 3 consecutive top 10 finishes, albeit last spring. I still am very adamant that the only reason why he finished where he did was based on strategy call, which clearly is something they've got a good handle on, and that's going to come into play this weekend. And so I think Buescher, somebody starting 13th, he's somebody that I think you save salary on. He's starting kind of in that range of, say, like the Reddick, the Denny Hamlin, and stuff like that. And you know what he's capable of doing in races that get funky. I mean, last week at COTA, he just kind of rode around, and the end of the race, he's inside the top 10 again. I mean, he's just a top 10 machine. And he's somebody that could wind up with a top 5, even racing for a win at the end of the race, just based on their ability to make moves through the field on strategy calls.
Yeah, I just worry that strategy is going to put you top 5. It doesn't actually put you up front, but I don't know.
I mean, you got to be there to even have a chance to do it, and that's like something that
fair.
Buescher is really good at.
Yeah, no, he's rock solid, and I wish he was starting 23rd, and then I could be really excited about him. But given where he's starting, I don't know. I'm looking at betting odds while we're talking, and trying to convince myself these numbers make sense.
Yeah, and let me just tell you, Tyrone Gibbs, I don't think anybody could have like predicted a worse start to the season for the 54. I just like there's no consistency, no real speed.
The 54 and the 19 are both just a fart in the wind. Alex Bowman, Josh Berry, Austin Cindric, Bubba Wallace, Daniel Suarez. Another group of 5 drivers, 7K. Josh Berry started the top 5. Bowman in the back, Suarez in the back. Cindric and Wallace kind of just mid-pack. Who's jumping out for you in this range?
I mean, I guess you could kind of say that Josh Berry was somebody that a lot of the people in the community were kind of hyping up leading into this race. He's known as a short track guy, but one thing I want to remind people is that he doesn't have Rodney Childers on his box anymore. And that was something that appealed to a lot of people when he did come here to Phoenix, was Childers' past successes with Kevin Harvick. You know, so he's starting up near the front. Obviously, he's got that Penske speed, but do you trust that team to keep it up front there? I mean, we've seen this a couple of times already with him where he starts near the front and something goes wrong, or bad pit error, or some garbage happens, similar to what I was talking about with Suarez last week in the matchup with McDowell. Like, it was only inevitable that Suarez was going to get junked. And Berry is not somebody that I trust to keep it up front. Whereas, like, going the complete opposite way with Daniel Suarez, starting 31st, I top 20, sure, why not? That's 11 spots. Like, there's much less risk involved there. But the guy in this group that obviously 23-11 stands, here we go. Bubba Wallace, he was plenty fast in practice. He was about a 10th to 12th place car in terms of practicing. And this is a team that they just continue to put together strong races to begin this season. And I think a lot of that has to do with just Wallace's more even-keeled attitude towards racing, and just the team in general seems to be hitting on all cylinders right now. And so, you know, you're getting him at 19th. He's right in the middle of the field, $7,300. They're probably going to get aggressive at some point, jump on the tires to get points, because you know that this team is all about gaining points to get into the playoffs. So stage points are going to be critical for them. And then a good finish. Top 10, I've demolished that multiple times already. So obviously I'm in on that. But in this group, I would much rather play Bubba over Berry, who is known as the better guy at this track. And there's no effing way you're going to catch me playing the 2-car after what we've seen the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think if you bet Berry prior to practice and qualifying, good job. He looks awesome. Put those tickets in your pocket. At this point, I don't think you're betting anything additionally. And on DraftKings, I don't think you're playing him. I think you're either going up or going down to different options. I'm with you on Cindric. F that guy. Bubba, I'm in on. Suarez, I'm sort of in on. Me Amigo, I don't know. Yeah. But I think Bubba makes sense, and I think the fact that he's starting 19th is just enough difference. I think if he was starting like 24th, I think people would be more excited. But I think 19th, 7,300, just far enough forward, just expensive enough where he makes sense as a guy. I'm looking at projections over on Win the Race, and I think we might be coming in a little lower than what Ryan and the crew think. 6K. Carson Hocevar starting third. Talk about Fade City. Gregson, Priest, McDriver, Eric Jones, Cole Custer, SVG, Allmendinger, and Justin Haley. What a wild range. We got McDowell, Eric Jones, Justin Haley, and Josh Berry all starting inside the top 10. Banana sandwich.
Do you trust any of them?
McDowell.
Okay, so outside of McDowell, who we've seen do this before,
and we're using trust relative to the rest of the guys.
now I will say we've seen Hocevar do this, where he'll just stay up front because the kid's got speed. He's got lead in his foot, and he is the leader, the new leader of Team No Lift in NASCAR, and I absolutely love it.
Carson Hocevar is going to have to win multiple times before I believe he can win. And maybe that's stupid on my part. Maybe I'm going to be a late adopter to the Carson Hocevar. Maybe that'll be stupid. Maybe I'll miss out on some great numbers. Maybe you'll be able to rub it in my face. But there's no effing way I'm getting.
I mean,
involved.
I'm not. Yeah, no, I'm not playing him in DFS. No way.
Yeah.
Not starting third. I do think though, if you're maxing out in a 150 entry max thing, sure, why not throw him in a lineup? Because how many people are actually going to play him starting third? Right?
Let me see. It looks like about 7-8% per.
There
win the
you
race.
go. Talk about leverage play.
I mean, you want to get some leverage, you could go down to Eric Jones, who has less ownership, and I think will be better.
If I could have that matchup right now, I would play Hocevar.
I guess we could just make it a bet of the show and call it a day. Noah Graxon's sort of interesting to me, but probably going to be pretty popular, I think, too. Just given where he's starting and given his potential. There's some interesting names kind of starting in this like back section. And it's all I think you're going to be wanting to kind of build the rest of your lineups and then figuring out, okay, can I get up to Bowman? Can I get up to Briscoe? Can I get up to whoever? Or do I need to go down, and maybe grab a Gregson, grab a Ryan Priest, who I think is really interesting given where he's starting. Cole Custer? Oh, Cole? Are we going to roll Cole out there?
I mean, he is driving a pretty sick paint scheme. He's in the Cole Custard.
And he's had a good run here in Xfinity. He's good on the shorter flatter. I know it's Haas.
I'm just concerned that like everybody is privy to the fact that this is a place that he's performed well at in Xfinity, and he's starting further back than the other guy who's cheaper. You could see his name. He's the last guy there, Riley Herbst, who has also been really good here. And so I think a lot of people are going to gravitate to Custer because you're getting a built-in 5 placement points with probably a similar type of ceiling play.
I will say our friends over at Win the Race think more people are going to pile in on Riley than they are on Custard.
All right. But it's close. I mean, I like Riley this week. I think he's going to be good, but the car wasn't good in practice. I'll say that. It didn't sound like he was happy with the way that thing was riding.
What if I told you it's neither of them and it's actually AJ Allmendinger?
AJ Allmendinger stinks here. I'm not playing Allmendinger here.
I kind of like the dinger. I don't like the dinger. It's probably stupid, but
yeah, he's not great at this track. In
no.
23 Cup Series starts, how many top tens does Allmendinger have?
I'm guessing I can count it on one hand.
You sure can. Try. No. He's got 2. But the last time that happened was 2011.
That doesn't seem great. But he was good
No.
today in Xfinity. Probably not. I'll probably just cross him off.
16 consecutive finishes in 12th, or no, in 11th or worse.
Yeah. Sorry. Riley Herbst, Austin Dillon, Todd Gillen, Zane Smith, John Hunter, Ricky Stenhouse, Ty Dillon, Cody Ware, and Catherine Leger. Is that a pronounce?
Leg. Catherine Leg.
Leg?
Yeah.
We're just going with leg?
Yeah.
That seems lame. What do we got? Anything? You're scrape. I'm saying here's your shovel. Scrape that barrel. Get me something. What do you got for me?
This is absolutely disgusting, but Dylan actually was decent, I guess you could say, in practice, and he actually, had he not qualified as early as he did, I think he probably would be starting further up in the field. So I think there is more speed than what his starting position indicates.
Interesting.
That's about all I got on these guys, because Ricky Stenhouse, he admitted this is not a place he's good at.
No.
John Hunter Nemechek, I don't know what the hell to do with him. Catherine Legg, she should not be in anybody's lineup. They are essentially going to be the 66 team this week. You can expect her to be running at least a second or two slower than the leaders, be lapped by about lap 15, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
And finish last too.
Yeah, I think you want to get like Riley, Dillon, Gilliland, and kind of be done. I don't think you want to dip into the next Zane Smith, John Hunter, Stenhouse, any of that.
Yeah, I don't. This is a middling week, I think, for me.
Okay. With that being said, let's build some lineups. Let's see where we end up. What's the first click?
Kyle Larson.
Okay. Ross Chastain.
Ooh. Man, we're deep in it.
I think we're fine.
All right. Man. William Byron.
Okay.
Now we got a dumpster dive.
I think we'll be okay. I think we'll be okay. Let's see what looks good. Projections. I'm gonna give us Mr. Danielson, mi amigo Suarez.
All right. That kind of leads. We're gonna stick with the Chevy camp here. Let's go Austin Dillon here, because I don't think very many people are gonna want to play him.
Yeah, and probably for a good reason, because he's
And if he could just get 5 spots though at $5,800, just keep the wheels on it.
Let's see, Mr. Dillon, that gives us a lot of wiggles. Do we just triple stack the HMS and call it a day?
Bowman stinks here in Cup.
He stinks here in Cup. That's very, very true. But
similar to Allmendinger, you know how many top 10s Alex Bowman has? 2 in 19 races.
Is Alex Bowman the Daniel Suarez of last week, where everyone's going to pile in and play him and he's going to suck?
Probably. I have zero interest in playing Bowman this week. This is not a track that he's good at. It's almost as if he puts too much pressure on himself with it essentially being his home race. being from Phoenix. And so, he's not a guy that I like coming here to Phoenix. He's actually a guy I try to fade.
Yeah. Yeah, I think between if we're fading Bowman and we're fading Briscoe, that's going to be a good way to get off of some potential ownership. So do we just click Bubba and log out?
Let's do it. I love that.
Okay. Or do we do Gregson?
You could play Gregson. Go ahead.
No, I'm looking. Let's see. Yeah, we're gonna do Bubba.
I was just getting. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
But again, just to remind everybody, we have no idea when these option tires are going to be put on, who's going to be the Daniel Suarez of Richmond last year, nor do we know how long they're actually going to last, because something that people admit is like this track does not wear tires very fast to begin with. And so,
yeah, and I don't know what kind of DraftKings player you are if you're someone who's watching your scores all day. We're still looking out and coming back after the race. I'm a log out and come back later kind of person. But I think it's a great week to not pay attention, because
don't pay attention.
You could have it right for 95%. Like even like most weeks, there's a lot of fluctuation at the end. Like this week could be even crazier. But it could also mean your guy puts on the option tire sitting 26th, and all of a sudden he's flirting with the top 10 and completely flips your DK day around. So I'm starting this lineup with Joey Logano. Do we want to just click Ryan Blaney and go from there?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. What would you like next?
All right. Let's save some salary. Let's go down and let's play Riley Herbst with this group.
Okay.
Actually, you know what? No. Let's play Cole Custer. Let's stick to the manufacturer trend.
General Custard. Interesting.
I'm going to see if I can get some Andy's frozen custard tomorrow. I'm sure they'll have it at the track.
Riley Herbst.
Oh, man. Talk about playing with fire.
I think we're good. And then it gives us a lot of flexibility. We can do whatever we want.
All right. I think this is a good spot then to add Chastain here.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have a lot of Ross Chastain. It's either going to go amazing or terrible. I haven't decided.
Or we could play Chris Buescher instead of Chastain. Save some salary. Not that it gets us much. It would give us Gibbs.
So right now it's Chastain and probably Bubba again. But if we did what you suggested, which I like Gibbs, do you like Buescher more than Kyle Busch?
I think based on like 2 years of data, or about a year plus, whatever, I think at the end of the day, Chris Buescher just offers much less variance in his finishing results. Whereas Kyle Busch, he could pop this week and compete for the win, or he can be running in the mid-20s and give up mid-race and start driving backwards onto pit road.
Yeah, so in terms of ownership projections, they're basically the same. But Buescher ends up a lot more in the top 6 score percentage, a lot less in the bottom 15 score percentage. Is projected for more points. I mean, I just think I don't have to click Kyle Busch. So let's do that. I like that. I like that pivot because I don't want to end up with a lot of the same. I do want a lot of Chastain on a lot of my builds.
All right, we'll start the next one with Ross.
But I think this is fun. Okay, so we did a Larson lineup and Byron. We did a
Penske, Blaney, and Logano.
Penske. So this is Chris Bell, right?
And Chastain.
And where's Ross? 88, right? Yeah.
Okay, you're gonna hate this. You want to get different.
I want to get different.
It's Carson Hocevar time.
No, no.
Come on.
I simply refuse. You get one veto a week, and that's my
Just
veto. It's a new rule
oh,
I'm implementing right now. Absolutely
okay.
not. I will not
Okay.
click on Carson Hocevar. If you want to add him in your lineup, go for it. Go nutty.
The
You are
only
not
reason why I
gonna.
say that is because we need somebody that can run up front to
Okay, then we
start.
put Michael McDowell at 6,500.
All right. I don't hate that. He's cheap as shit.
Yeah, I'm playing McDowell over Jones, over Hocevar, over Josh Berry.
And as somebody that's sitting on a McDowell 10-1 top 10,
As
yes,
somebody sitting
please.
on a 250-1, which is now long gone.
Oh, dude, if Michael McDowell wins this week, I will probably never be able to cover a race again as a media member.
McDriver.
Yeah, I will go buy beers at the track probably if that were to happen.
Oh yeah,
I would be
Miami will be electric. Vegas will be electric.
yeah.
Let's cash that ticket, baby. All right, we have 7,900 each for 3 drivers. What do you think about Dennis?
Hamlin?
Yeah.
Like I said, I think he's a sneaky option to potentially win the race. I also like Chase Elliott a lot.
I think he's a better click.
Yeah, I think Elliott is kind of flying under the radar a little bit.
Let's do Elliott.
Especially because Chase Elliott, I've said this a bunch of times already, has kind of turned into the Kevin Harvick of the series where he's just kind of inside the top 5 all the time, but we haven't seen him be able to win.
Yeah, and I'm looking at projections, and Elliott and Hamlin are basically the same across the board, but Elliott's projected for like almost 10% less ownership. So
oh yeah, see, yeah, and at 4 different placement spots.
Yeah, incredibly compelling. All right, so we just need to make a decision. This could be a good spot to click Gragson. I think this is so we do, and then boom. The only other so that's
You could do Suarez. You could put Suarez with Chastain.
Okay. And he's 71. And then if we do that, that gets us. I still think, yeah, it's either Gregson or Priest. And I think with having McDriver, we can do in terms of ownership, we can do whatever we want. Let's see.
Yeah, because Suarez is somebody who, yeah, he's not great here, and I'm not really expecting a top 10 or anything out of him, but he's been kind of in the low teens range. We saw what he did at Richmond, where he led a shitload of laps after getting off cycle from everybody else, and they probably do the same thing now. And knowing how aggressive he's got to be because he's driving for his job and also a future ride in the Cup Series at this point. I mean, it's kind of clear the direction that Trackhouse is going with Connor Zilich jumping into the Xfinity car this year and them kind of admitting that they don't want him being distracted from learning in the Xfinity Series. So I think all the signs are pointing towards him coming up.
So Priest has about half the expected ownership. Obviously, it's going to be a little contest dependent. Priest has the safer floor, but Gregson has the higher upside and has like 5 more spots to play with. Do we just put in young Noah and log out, or do you want Ryan Priest instead?
We could play Gregson, I guess, because of the 5 placement points.
Let's do it. Okay, we did it. We built our 3 lineups. Let us know down in the comments who you like this week. Who's your favorite play on DraftKings? Who do we miss that you're like, you guys are idiots for not playing this guy? And then same thing. Who are we idiots for actually playing? Maybe it's Austin Dillon. Maybe it's Cole Custer. Maybe it's me, Migo. Who knows? Let's recap the betting card for the people. So I bet Ty Gibbs at 28. Feel real bad about that. I bet Michael McDowell at 200. Feel real great about that. I bet Byron to win stage 1 at 7. I feel great about that. Gibbs to win stage 1 at 9. I feel terrible about that. McDriver 10-1. Thank you, Lord. And I added Ryan Blaney. I tweeted this out post show. Caesars hung a 7 on Ryan Blaney to win Phoenix, and I jumped on it. So,
And this was prior practice, by the way.
prior to practice and qualifying, what was this on Wednesday?
This one,
Maybe
yeah, it's like Wednesday or Thursday.
Wednesday
I
or
can't.
Thursday. So, it might be done from an outright perspective, but we'll take a look. Brian bet Larson over Hamlin at minus 130. He bet Larson to win the race. He bet at 850. There was a 10, so he had a cash out option, but we're going to leave the 850 on the show for show purposes. McDowell top 10 at 10. Herb's top 10 at 10. And then Chase Briscoe stage 1. I can just mark that with an L if you want right now, because that's dead in the water. But
honestly, that's as dead as a bet you're gonna get.
Yeah, I mean that's as dead as Ty Gibbs winning the race or winning stage 1. All right, so that is where our card sits. Let's talk outright odds and figure out where the lines have moved. Refresh this to see if DraftKings is uploaded. It's not pulling in all the data, but we get a good idea. So Bell's still your favorite, basically 6 across the board. But there is some Ryan Blaney at 5 and 550, which is kind of interesting. So actually Blaney is your favorite pretty much across the board, outside of Rivers where they're both 6. Byron is also 6. And then you get into Logano, Reddick, Kyle Larson, which is that Rivers 11 still around, or is that
no? He's gone. He's 8.
Okay.
You're welcome, by the way.
Yes, I appreciate you. I was able to snag a 12 that existed for a short period of time. Of the guys that are kind of inside that 10-1, so Larson, Reddick, Logano, Byron, Blaney, and Bell. Any interest in betting any of them? And if so, kind of who's standing out? Or and if not, is there someone that maybe if you had to bet it or you're most excited about and looking for a live line potential on Sunday, who is it?
Let me just first say these lines are disgusting. The fact that we have so many guys inside that 10-1 kind of threshold after practice and qualifying is just ridiculous. And so I have a really hard time trying to discern which one of these guys is the best. I know Blaney looked incredible. Reddick, he looked great on the prime tires. And then, he only qualified 9th. Like Kyle Larson to me was the best on the option tire, but he had kind of waited for everybody. He had like very limited fall off. And then he wasn't the best on the prime tire. If that 11 was still available, I would say, yeah, get double digits on the guy that most people consider the best driver in the sport and who was really good during practice. But outside of that, I can't see myself getting in on any of these single digit numbers when we have zero idea how this option tire is going to play out. And I said this early in the week, like to me, this was setting up to be a live bet race for outrights in particular, because we really have no clue who's going to be doing what. And it's going to come down to basically who saved a set of softs for a short green cycle at the end of the race,
BetMGM has Larson at 6 now.
That's what I'm saying, man. Like, when I watched practice, I thought he was the best car. But again, he was on softs. And one interesting note to Larson's practice session is that he started on the option tire, but he didn't go out for a good 5 to 8 minutes or so. So he let the track kind of get rubbered in. And he also, during that run on his soft tires, he didn't try to throw down a fast lap. He started with the intention of managing his fall off.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could take that for what you want, but like a lot of that data, I don't really know how to translate into actual race scenario.
Yeah. Yeah, and with someone like Larson, could he shit the bed? Sure. But could he win the race and win by not 3 laps, but like 10 seconds or something.
But yeah,
Maybe.
and then you'd be sad. Like anytime Kyle Larson goes off at double digits, it's almost like an auto bet at this point of his career. It's kind of similar with Christopher Bell everywhere we go, which is why we were stupid, especially me, not jump on 12 pre-COTA, you know?
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's talk that next range and figure out what we want to get involved with, if anything. Chase Elliott, Denny Hamlin, Kyle Busch. There's a 25 on Ross Chastain. I think I'm gonna take it. I probably shouldn't, given that I already have enough exposure, but Ty Gibbs is basically dead. McDowell is a lottery ticket, so it's really just Ryan Blaney at 7.
Yeah.
I'm gonna add Ross at 25.
Where's
I don't
where's
think
the
I'm
25, by the
adding
way?
what?
Where is he 25?
BetMGM.
Oh, I don't even have that open.
I'm
those guys.
Well, yeah, it's because you don't have access to it anymore. But 25.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a decent number on Chastain. I'm not even sure what the fair market value is, but I think Ross is a guy who we've seen in the past be aggressive enough to make up track position and wind up being a contender for a race win when he probably shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Especially when you go down the board and you see the names of Josh Berry and Carson Hocevar priced just $5 below him at 30.
Yeah, exactly.
I would much rather play Chastain.
There's MGM. 25.
Oh my gosh, Larson's down to 7 at Caesars too, by the way.
Yeah, dude. He's running. I'm so like I was not excited to take it, but when I saw 12, I was like, okay, well let's see what happens and where this goes. And yeah, it's running. So the fact that it's 8 offshore, it's 7, it's 6 a lot of places. Yeah. Who knows tomorrow when we wake up what number we're looking at, but certainly compelling.
Well, I think it's also you have to consider the fact that like FanDuel, they haven't even opened their markets.
Yeah. What does he open at there? 7 probably.
I'm going to say probably like 8 because they're normally a little bit longer than other people. He probably opens at what he was pre. He's probably 8.5 again.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's probably reasonable. Oakley dokley, let's go back to here. So yeah, I added Chastain at 25. I'm not betting Briscoe. I'm not betting Barry. Busher at almost 40.
So I was telling Kyle prior to jumping on here, I had a bunch
40.
of free bets at ESPN Bet, and you bet your you know what that I used one of those on Busher at 40-1.
Yeah, that feels good.
But I don't know if I'd play real money on that. Like free bet, sure. Why the hell not? Because I do think that there's a possibility he could wind up front at some point. But I just don't think I didn't see the speed, the race winning speed on either set of tires.
That's what RFK does, right?
Yeah, but I think like something that we've improved upon when doing this. You want to bet the fastest cars because essentially those are the guys that are going to be competing for a race win. You can only factor in strategy and stuff so much.
Yeah. Like you look for a guy Busher for like Top Ford or top 10 or in a good matchup because he didn't
Yep.
qualify very well and you're getting more juice. But in terms of outright, you are correct. God, there's a 50 on Tyrone.
Do not fall victim.
I'm once again asking you, back Tyrone Gibbs.
No. So I did add one.
Okay.
Bubba Wallace 66-1.
Yeah.
It's available in two spots. 10th of a unit. This is a small O play just for a fun play for me. Because he's clearly gotten better at these short tracks. We've seen them be able to kind of maintain track position, find track position late. He was actually pretty good here in the fall. So, yeah, I think that's a good number.
Yeah. I think that makes sense. I feel much better about Bubba at 66 than I do at Gibbs at 50 or even McDowell at 50.
Well, it's kind of hard to talk about McDowell at 50 when we're sitting on 250. Okay, like
yeah, that's the thing. Kaz is 50. You'd much rather bet Busher at 40 than Kez at 50, right?
Oh yeah. I really think there is something to the age plateau that we've seen in the Cup Series, for the last decade plus. Just the older guys, they just don't win.
Yes, sir. All right, let's look at some placement stuff, see if there's any interesting things. As always, aoppodcast.substack.com, aoppodcast.substack.com. We will have our full betting cards on there. We'll write up some picks for both betting and for DFS. We'll have our grid rival pick slips, which hopefully we can make it 3 weeks in a row cashing over there. As well as a whole myriad of other things. So make sure you check that out. It's completely free to subscribe. You get in your email inbox every race day. And if you aren't subscribed yet and you want to check it out, go check it out. aoppodcast.substack.com. The link is in the description. And we will get those out to you. Let's see if we have anything interesting. I just want to look at something just to laugh. William Byron, what is your stage 1 price now? 3-1. So having that 7 is nice.
We don't have to
Ty
look
Gibbs,
at Briscoe. Okay.
75
Oh my gosh.
to 1. Chase Briscoe,
He's 50.
50 to 1.
Mine lost worse.
Yeah, yours went down less.
Yeah. Mine lost better, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
If that
Chris Bell at 8-1 is kind of interesting to win stage 1.
I don't know if he's got the speed. And, when you go back and you look at last year's race, he wound up being the best car. But something he talked about has been the common theme here at Phoenix is that in traffic, it's almost impossible to pass on the prime tire.
Yeah.
And he admitted that it took the field getting strung out for him to be able to make his way through the field, which only happens on extreme long runs into the second stage.
So Larson to win stage 1 probably doesn't make sense either.
Nah, with him starting 17th, I don't see that. I could see him winning stage 2.
Let's see if there's any value. Bell's 5.
Hence why he's 5. Yeah.
Yeah, Larson 12. It's not bad. If you
not
want some
bad.
Kyle Larson, you think he's going to be good, and you're not betting the 6 or 7, 12 to 1 to win stage 2 is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think, depending on what we see in stage 1, if nobody gets crazy like I tinfoil hat and talked about people starting the race on options for stage 1, I do think you see a couple of guys begin stage 2 on their first set to make up track position. And maybe we get like the field completely split with some people on another set of primes and some guys on options. And then, again, this is not a race that I'm looking to get too overly exposed to because of that.
Yeah. Kyle Busch being the second favorite in Top Chevy, I think is kind of interesting.
I do not understand the line movement on Busch, to be truthful.
Yeah, I'd much rather bet Larson at 4 or Chastain at 9.
Okay. If you gave me a Kyle Larson versus Kyle Busch matchup, with Larson and underdog, I am going to obliterate that.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull up on the simulator what that would be, because let's see. I can go top manufacturer on the sim. We'll go to Chevy. Yeah. So Kyle Busch on the simulator says the fair market value, or the fair odds, would be 21.5 to 1. And he's plus 360 to be top Chevy. Just think about that if you're betting that one.
Yeah, they're
Chastain,
definitely taking advantage of last week's race.
Chastain is actually a value according to the simulator because he's just inside 7 to 1. So something to think about. If you like Chastain, I think betting him, if you don't want to bet him to win because you have some Toyota or you have some Ford or you think they're going to be the best, betting Chastain to be top Chevy I think is interesting because he could easily be top 3 and top 4 and be the best Chevy.
Yeah.
Top Ford, Blaney, Logano. I don't think there's any value with any of these people.
No, I'm not excited about those markets.
No. All right, let's look at Caesars head-to-heads, and then, as I mentioned, all of our bets and everything will be on the betting card, posted in the Substack. So go check that out. Check out last week's episode so you can see if you want to get involved in the truck race ticket giveaway. If you're going to be in Vegas, even just for Xfinity or just for Cup, let us know. Brian and I will both be there. We'd love to say hello. Brian will be in Phoenix, Vegas, and Miami. So if you're going to be at any of those races and you want to say hello to Brian, take a picture, sign some autographs, whatever your case may be, feel free to hit him up. Bell versus Blaney, Gibbs versus Barry. Gibbs versus Barry. Do I dare?
You think that Ty Gibbs is going to be able to make up 30 spots? Like, think about the traffic he has to maneuver.
Well, no, but I do think Ty Gibbs can make up 12 to 15 spots, and then I think Josh Berry will lose 12 to 15 spots in the aggregate to make it. And let's see what the fair market value is.
Yeah, I'm not touching anything with Ty Gibbs having to start.
Yeah, I mean, he was driving a tractor, so like if he brings that junk to the track, then he's definitely not going to win. Yeah, it says 169 should be the buy price, so I will not do that. Yeah, that makes sense. All right, Brian. It was fun to chat. It was fun to build some lineups. Hopefully we can cash over on DK. Let us know down in the comments who your favorite DraftKings play is. Also, let us know who you're betting. Is there any outrights now that the odds have shifted that you're jumping all over, or any you're holding that you're like, man, happy to be holding that? Let us know. We're down to chat. We're down to have some conversations between now and the time the flag drops to get the race going. Brian will be in attendance. He will be tweeting the hell out of this race. So at Brian_Twining, make sure you are following him. Follow me at Notorious KRO. We tend to tweet out more thoughts and additional bets and other stuff we see, especially between kind of now and when the race actually starts. Mm-hmm. Chris Wormy may or may not be doing the pre-race poll, so make sure you follow him on Twitter to see if he's doing that. But whenever he does that, it's an incredible conversation and really, really good to talk about. We will be back next week to recap Phoenix, get you ready for Vegas. This time next week, I will be in Vegas with Brian. We'll figure out recording post qualifying and practice and all that good stuff out there. We'll both be at the race. If you're there, definitely come say hello. We'll be out walking around the garage and maybe in the media center. So send us a little DM and we'll come say hello if you're if you're there, that's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. You enjoy the hell out of Phoenix. Let's cash some tickets. Let's go Kyle Larson. Get that 5 into victory lane. Keep all 4 tires on the car, please. Thank you. We'll talk to you next.